Architect David Mizan Hashim, Group President, Veritas Design Group, speakers and moderators, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, good morning and salam keluarga Malaysia. Firstly, I would like to convey my appreciation to Veritas for inviting me today. I would also like to welcome all esteemed panelists and participants both from the public and private sectors. My apologies for not being able to participate in person, but I hope that my message today will be able to set the context for the webinar today on the socio-economic factors related to public transport and why is it important as an impetus for growth. Ladies and gentlemen, since early times, public transport has been with us, with services offered primarily to connect to urban areas in which the commonly shared facilities offered significantly reduced costs to users. Now, mass transportation for the public is widely implemented all over the world, even though most can actually afford their own transportation. The vision of the National Transport Policy is to develop a sustainable transport sector that accelerates economic growth and supports the well-being of the rakyat in line with an advanced nation status. This is what we envisage for Malaysia, where the target is 2030 for all urban areas, especially state capitals, is to achieve 40% mode split for public transportation. Public transport not only will make transportation more effective and efficient via reducing the energy expended by the overall transport sector, but it is also intended to reduce traffic and carbon emission. This policy is also in line with the National Automotive Policy 2020, which envisages the mobility as a service concept, where in the future people will generally use the transportation for services rather than purchasing their own vehicles. To promote and facilitate the usage of public transport, the government has since 1998 introduced the urban rail concept, especially to the people in Klang Valley. Starting with the light rail transit or LRT, Malaysia has embarked on a mega-scale rail expansion projects deemed as the backbone for public transport. These include the Mass Rapid Transit or MRT in Klang Valley, East Coast Rail Link or ECRL that serves both passenger and goods for the east coast of Peninsular Malaysia, and Rapid Transit System or RTS that links Malaysia and Singapore. Not to forget the stage buses, the government introduced two major programs, the Interim Stage Bus Support Fund or ISBSF in 2012 as a measure to support the sustainability of existing stage bus services throughout Malaysia, especially for the routes running in small towns. And in 2015, the government introduced the Stage Bus Services Transformation or SBST program, the first gross cost contracted services in Malaysia that was rolled out in Kanga, Seremban, Ipoh and Kuala Terengganu. The SBST requires services to be reliable, otherwise the operator will be penalized. In addition, some states and local authorities are also offering free services such as in Kuala Lumpur via GoKLs, Selangor, Pulau Pinang and most recently in Sarawak. In 2019, Malaysia also introduced new regulations for e-hailing that now serves as an affordable and convenient door-to-door mobility service in addition to taxis. This alternate mode of transportation provides expanded freedom of mobility for users with higher purchasing powers without the need to use personal vehicles. Most recently, the government introduced monthly unlimited travel passes for Prasarana services in Klang Valley, Pulau Pinang and Kuantan. In view of the COVID-19 constraints with regards to the general economy, the prices was reduced from RM100 per month to just RM30 per month. Other recent incentives include MyRail 5 that offers only RM5 per month for school children and people with disability for commuter rail services by Kereta Api Tanah Melayu or KTMB. Prior to COVID-19, we have seen a remarkable increase in ridership for urban rail services in Klang Valley that showed a two-digit growth, i.e. 11% increase from 2018 to 2019. With the launch of KTMB's electric train services or ETS, ridership has increased from 215,000 passengers in 2010 to nearly 4 million in 2019. Massive government's investment in rail projects have seen tremendous growth in rail ridership. The approval of e-hailing regulations proliferated the numbers of e-hailing operators and at its peak in 2019. Though you may be familiar with Grab and Uber, the government actually approved 46 e-hailing operators with a total of 108,000 vehicle permits. Ladies and gentlemen, as for the main challenges that we still face, namely increasing affordability of the people over the years, has led to increased ownership and usage of private transport. Added with e-hailing as a viable option, this has led to a decrease of stage bus ridership. Compounded from COVID-19 pandemic that restricts travel in general, where public transportation poses as a higher risk of infection, existing patronage was cut to more than half. Unlike developed countries, we still have not fully adapted to the culture of using public transportation. This is reflected in the ratio of 19 stage buses per 100,000 population in Klang Valley versus 50 to 120 stage buses, which is common in most countries. Singapore's ratio is about 111. Traffic may be relatively low now due to reduced mobility from COVID-19 restrictions, but a study in 2015 by the World Bank indicates that the congestion in Kuala Lumpur translates to 20 billion ringgit losses annually, and public transport with stage buses as part of its overall ecosystem. It should be the primary means to address this problem. Ladies and gentlemen, in general, there will be four main factors for user to choose a mobility mode. The first is cost and will serve as the primary factor in the olden days. The second is quality of life, where public transport will be a good alternative if it is comfortable and enjoyable. The third is time. Rail, for example, can cut down the journey time during peak hours. Fourthly, and knowing our culture and eating habits, it may be a while before this option is seriously considered by Malaysians, which is health. Using public transport is actually healthier because there will be a lot of walking involved. In town planning, a public transport stop is generally within a 400-meter radius where you live, thus the physical need to exercise. All of these influencing factors above represent the carrot strategy, but so far we have not talked about the stick. Other countries have implemented penalties that not only increases patronage, but also become a source of support or funding for public transport. Based on its 2021 budget, carbon tax is implemented in Singapore, where petrol prices are increased by 23%. Obviously, this will veer users towards using public transport. Congestion pricing is implemented in London, where it is fully used to fund public transport services, especially stage buses through service contracting. The 12th Malaysia Plan plans to introduce carbon tax as part of its target to achieve carbon neutral by 2050. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, public transport is a public necessity, similar to having roads and the internet. If we do not have public transport, mobility will only be possible for the people that can own a personal transport. But this, in effect, will choke our roads and highways and result in unnecessarily transport infrastructure and its expanded energy costs and also an increase in pollution, especially related to greenhouse gases emission. Due to our utilization of public transport, Malaysians spend an average of 10% of disposable income on transport, compared with only 4% in Tokyo and Hong Kong. Traffic jams in the Greater Klang Valley are costing Malaysians 1.1% to 2.2% in GDP every year, which translates to 6,000 ringgit per person per year. Transport sector emits 20% of our greenhouse gases emission, and land transport is its biggest contributor. The 12th Malaysia Plan seeks to encourage behavioral shift from private to public transport and targets an annual growth of 5% of public transport ridership in Klang Valley. Travel patterns of the rakyat will be continuously analysed to provide appropriate public transport services. These measures will improve national productivity, facilitate economic growth, and improve the well-being of the rakyat. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to once again thank the organisers for keeping the conversation on this important topic alive. And I wish you all a fruitful discussion. Thank you.